Welcome to A Course in Miracles, text chapter 31, the final vision. And we carry on from where we left off last night, the self-accused. So bearing in mind, this is a complete non-dual teaching. We have reached the complete non-duality phase of A Course in Miracles. Unless you have a solid grasp, a deep understanding of what non-duality means, oneness, at one mint, non-dual, then this is going to, you will be confused. So you find yourself confused as I go along. Realize somewhere along the line, you've stepped out of presence, you've moved into past, future, activity, body, mind, identification, and you're being either threatened or insulted by what the Course is saying. And the part of you that is being threatened and insulted is your body, mind, ego identification, your identity. That is the ego. So when you find that happening, be grateful because it's being exposed, and offer gratitude and forgive it instantly. Let it go. Let it go. Don't hang on to it. Don't try and intellectualize. Don't try and reason. Don't try and find an alternative point of view. The truth is coming at you tonight. This is not my opinion. This is the shared knowing. And I say it with complete conviction because it is beyond knowing. The knower and the knowing have dissolved. It's now prevalent in my awareness. The minute I open my mouth, I'm either talking absolute nonsense or I'm conceding. There's concessions. I'm trying to put into words, and words are but symbols twice removed. First there's the symbol, then there's the word. And beyond that, there's the silence, the truth. So symbols are already an echo of the truth. And then a word is an echo of the echo. So if it's challenging you, center, forgive, be present, invite the memory of God, Holy Spirit, into your awareness and allow it to shift you, allow it, surrender to the new understanding, beyond understanding, because it moves you beyond understanding into the knowing, and the knowing then moves into the observer, the knower. And as the knowing and the knower become one, the knower, the decision maker dissolves, and there's just awareness. And beyond that, there is no words. You are the self-accused. And only the self-accused condemn. Only the self-accused judge. And think about this. You can't even choose a color without judging one over the other. Everything in this world of delusional constructs, of duality, delusional duality, involves some form of judgment, and it's in its severest form, condemnation, and it's in heightened states of condemnation attack. As you prepare to make a choice that will result in different outcomes, there is first one thing that must be overlearned. In other words, you need to erase and bring something new into it. It's like a tape recorder, old days tape recorder, where you rewind, you clear the tape, and then you record over it. You play over it. There's a new learning. You overlearn it. It must become a habit of response so typical of everything you do that it becomes your first response to all temptations and to every situation that occurs. And remember, all temptation is simply the wish that things were different to what they are, what is, and you wish it was different. You think you know better. You think there's a better reason or a better purpose or a better way. Learn this and learn it well, because it has to become second nature, that anytime there's any form of resistance in you, forgive, release, surrender, awaken to self. Learn this and learn it well, for it is here delay of happiness is shortened by a span of time. So in the illusion, it contracts. You cannot realize. And here is the vital understanding every time you want to condemn anything. You never hate your brother for his sins, but only for your own. Now, in fact, there is no sin. We know this now. We know there's just error, mistakes in judgment, in preconception, in perceiving, pre-seeing, in other words, in the way that you prejudged it and you've projected it. Remember, you see not with your eyes. You see, your eyes are projectors. You see through your eyes, they're projecting. Whatever form his sins appear to take, the errors, sins, things that you've judged as wrong, as evil, as not unworthy of forgiveness. Whatever form his sins appear to take, it but obscures the fact that you believe them to be yours, consciously or subconsciously, and therefore merit a just attack. You can justify any form of your attack. You always start with a but. Yes, I forgive him, but. Yes, I forgive him, but I will never forget. But. Why should his sins be sins if you did not believe they could not be forgiven in you? So the reason you believe a sin is a sin is because you believe it's in you and it cannot be forgiven. And you haven't forgiven it, and therefore you won't forgive it in the world. Remember, the world is an outer reflection of an inner condition of what you believe you are, what you believe God is, and therefore you've projected it as the world you see. There are 8 billion worlds. You know, the conspiracy theorist and the happy-go-lucky, they love to talk about things like multiple universes. Why? You can't figure out this universe, but now you want to know if there's multiple universes. Well, I'll tell you, for the record, in the illusion, but not in truth, in the delusion, but not in truth, right now on this plane called Earth, which is a plane of asleepness, there are 8 billion universes. There's a universe in each dreaming activity, which what we think is a person with a mind is just an activity in the dreaming mind. 8 billion universes. Are there parallel universes? Absolutely, 8 billion. Let's leave it at that. Let's not bother about. Why would we want to know? You know why people want to know if there's alternative universes? Because they hope there's an alternative version of them somewhere else, slightly better off, or possibly a billionaire. Why are sins real to him? If you did not believe that they are your reality, why are they real in him? Why do you blame? Why do you accuse your brother if you know that the sin doesn't exist? It's just an error, a mistaken perception. And why do you attack them everywhere except you hate yourself? Why do you attack them everywhere except you hate yourself? Are you a sin? And you may say no, but you answer yes whenever you attack, and therefore whenever you defend a point of view, an understanding. For by attack do you assert that you are guilty and must give as you deserve. And what can you deserve but what you are? You're only going to receive, remember, having and being are the same. So you can only attract into your awareness that which you believe you are and therefore believe you deserve. So do you believe you are the peace of God and deserve the peace of God? Or do you believe you're a person and deserve the peace of God? How can you get the peace of God when you believe you're a human being? You're an object, you're an objectification. How can you experience something? Is peace an objectification, or is it a state of awareness? And even that is a concession. So if you are that which is peace, you attract peace. If you offer peace, you know you have it. The more you offer it, the more you attract it. If you think you're a human being wanting peace, wanting joy, wanting love, but you think you're a human being, so you believe you're an illusion, and yet you want the truth, peace, love, joy, concessions of the truth, the unconditional love of what is, God. Another word for what is. Another word for what is God. What is in the dream is all illusion. Yet behind the illusion is the truth, light. But it's seen as people, places, things, and events, objectifications of a dreaming mind, activities, objectified activities of a dreaming mind. If you did not believe that you deserved attack, it never would occur to you to give attack to anyone at all. So every time you criticize something, Every time you resist something, including your teacher that's bringing you into a complete non-dual understanding, you resist it because you want to stick your peg in the ground based on your limited understanding of what is, and based on the story that you've made up of what is should be. And then when the teacher points out the fact that you're dreaming, and this isn't real, and there's nothing to fix, and there's no one to cure, and there's only the self to return to, awaken to self, and that means the death of the false self, death of the ego. You get upset because you want to believe. Let me state this for the record. If you use any form of understanding, curriculum, a Course in Miracles, if you use a Course in Miracles to derive your livelihood, in other words, you've turned this into a business and you've convinced yourself, you've told yourself this glorious story that you're a teacher for God, and you're using the curriculum to make a living. At some stage, you're going to see your Uranus. It's going to be in retrograde, and it's going to collapse your third eye. And if you understand what I'm talking about, you understand I'm talking shit, right? You are going to see your ass. You know why? Because at some stage, and that's why I've said to you guys, this is coming to an end. It needed to stop a while ago, but I gave you my commitment, and I'm continuing it until it's done. The time to be still is now here for this appearance, for this temporal non-existence. It's coming to be quiet. And what happens to the teacher who's been teaching non-duality and making a living from it? First of all, if he's been teaching non-duality, he's trapped in duality, believing he's a teacher, teaching someone outside himself. What happens when it needs to be still? And he now has, in this delusion, no way to make known a way of survival other than his belief that his faith is what's bringing the income. He's trapped in the role. He's going to seize us. Because at some stage, you will have to go quiet. And have you considered that even the great teachers like Ramana Maharishi, Papaji, well, Papaji, no, because he worked for a living. Muji, for example, right now, someone's got to feed them. So it's all wonderful that you're sitting there in the ashram, or wherever the hell you're on a monastery, and someone's just taking care of you, and you're just dishing out your pools of wisdom, and you've convinced yourself that it's some sort of energy exchange. It's all you. You're taking money from yourself. And what happens when you need to be quiet? Be still and know I am. Have you got the conviction beyond understanding, beyond knowing of that which is, and all that has ever been, to abide? And is it fair that you push onto the rest of your fractured selves the responsibility to take care of an activity no different to every other activity in the world? What makes you think you're so special that you don't have to take responsibility like everybody else does? If you don't like what I'm saying, switch this off and go away. I'm not interested in your opinion. There it is. The truth. Deal with it. The truth. But carry on. It's not a judgment. It's a sharing of an understanding. And I'm watching these teachers burn themselves because they're trapped in their identity. And when that non-dual understanding finally comes, what are they going to do? If you've attacked someone, it's because you attack yourself, only yourself. And you judge yourself, and hence you dislike yourself. And you dislike because you wanted to be something else. And yet you forget that you projected into this form. You projected exactly what you needed to project, including everything you dislike about the form, in order to overcome any form of resistance, including the dislike of the form you've taken. Why should you? What would the gain be to you? What could the outcome be that you would want? What do you think this illusion is going to give you? And how could murder bring you benefit? How could getting rid of those you hate make you better? Do you not see the mirrors in the world? Can you not see that you but hate your idea of yourself, which isn't your true self? Now, the reason this course gets so misunderstood is because Jesus, as they speak, which is really just the Christ, Jesus is a historic figure. the mind, which Jesus shares, he shared being, is the mind of God, which is everyone's mind. Your mind and Jesus' mind is the Christ mind, which is the shared essence of God. Love's tongue-in-cheek. This next passage is complete tongue-in-cheek. And this is why people get trapped. You need to understand the non-duality. It is really pulling the piss out of you right now, what it's about to say. Sins are in bodies. Now imagine you quoted this. Sins are in bodies. Is that a true statement? First of all, there's no sin. Second of all, there's no bodies. Therefore, there can be no sin in any body. So why does the Course say this now? Because it says, pay attention. Pay attention. You perceive they are in bodies. They are not perceived in mind. They are not seen as purposes, but actions. They are not perceived in minds, as if every person has a separate mind. See how it's twisting it? No one has a mind. You are an activity in mind. They are not seen as purposes, but actions. The whole purpose of the body is to make you believe in sin, to hide the fact of what you truly are. Essence, a thought in the mind of God, asleep in itself, dreaming of itself as a universe in which it's localized itself and seems to be experiencing itself without knowing it is itself, thinking it is separate, thinking it has a body, thinking it has a mind, and thinking that somehow the real part of itself is inside the body and in the mind. Mind, body, spirit. You hear that all the time. The most ridiculous statement ever made. Mind, body, spirit. There's no such thing. There's only spirit. Or only capital M mind, which is the same as spirit. But there's no mind, small m. There's definitely no body, okay, and no bodies, and there's no body, and there's definitely only spirit, capital S, which is the Christ mind. Bodies act because there are activities in the dream. Minds do not. But yet a body could not act if it did not appear to be led by something. What leads the body to act? And therefore, must the body be at fault for what it does? This is how duality sees the world. What it's actually showing you right now, this is how the dualistic mind works. And people mistake this section and don't realize that in the very next passage, it says, yet is the body prisoner and not the mind. And if you were to quote this passage on its own, it would seem like this course is trapped in duality. It is not. So, and therefore must the body be at fault for what it does. It's ridiculous, as if the body has a mind of its own. It is not seen to be a passive thing. It's not seen to be obeying your command and doing nothing of itself at all. So it's seen as if it does. If you are a sin, you are a body, for the mind acts not. Yet the mind directs it. And purpose must be in the body, which is not true. There's no purpose. Not the mind, because it's the thinking, the belief that you're a separate mind in a separate body that gives the body its purpose. And the purpose of the body is to usurp the power of God, to prove it's not real, even though it inevitably will die. And one of the greatest forms of ego delusion is body-centric attention, that craving for body attention, the acknowledgement the body requires for physical intimacy, for physical attention, to be acknowledged as being beautiful or brave or intelligent or whatever the case may be. And you see it all over the world with this new onslaught of Twitter and Facebook and all the nonsense that we put out there. It's all about people posing and look how beautiful I am. And we just love it. When someone says, you're so beautiful or you're so intelligent, people say, thank you. As if you, the observing entity, in some way had any say about the genetic coding of what you projected into. Because the dream was incepted and you can only project into its byproducts, its effects. Yet you are not the effect called body with your what you think are thoughts. You don't have a single thought. And therefore, if you have no single thought, you have no mind as a localization, as a separate body mind, you have no mind. You exist as an activity in the dreaming mind, thinking you think. And so now you've assigned a purpose to the body, and you love to glorify it. You want to maximize its pleasure, minimize its pain, minimize its suffering, minimize its guilt. And yet by wanting to minimize it, you resist it. And what you resist persists. And what you search for, which is to maximize pleasure, by searching, you admit you don't have it. And therefore, the very thing you search for eludes you. And the very thing that you think you're resisting is what you attract. And yet somewhere in the mind, in the activity of the mind, this localization thinks it thinks and thinks there's some form of hope. And it prays and joins these massive buildings with little crucifixes or little stars and suns and little moons on top of them. We call those temples and churches, and thinks by praying it's going to attract. And if it's not religious, by creating vision boards and law of attraction and attending seminars on how to make manifest. And what do you make manifest? You manifest illusions. And the more you make manifest, the more you believe it real, and the more you stay trapped. And even those manifestations will fail you, but yet the hope remains, and you hope that the next time round, you're going to make it better, and it will not. The body must act on its own, is your belief, and motivate itself. If you are sin, you lock the mind within the body. See, now you believe you have a mind, and now you believe that the body is real, and you believe that your thinking, your thoughts, your ideas, your identification, your beliefs, your cultures, your norms, all your concepts, self-concepts, you believe that's mind. And now you believe that you trap the body, the mind within a body. See how deluded? We're so far off the point that we don't even know how far off we are now. And you give its purpose to its prison house. So you believe this body, this activity called a body, traps the mind, not realizing this is just a device that receives the signals from the dreaming mind. And yet within it, the very fact that this thing moves around seems to live is because inside it there's a spark, and that spark is called life. And that spark of life is actually spirit, and that spirit is actually God. Or no illusion would even be able to appear, because it appears. And behind the appearance, behind the illusion is the truth. Behind every illusion, there's some activity going on. The activity is true. The illusion just masks what's really happening behind the scene. You look at a stage, and the curtains open, and you close the curtains, you open and there's a 747. How on earth did they get it in there? It's an illusion. Was the 747 always there? We don't know. Did they bring it in? Or is it an illusion? Or was it always there, but the curtains didn't really open and close? You were just deluded by opening and closing a curtain. And so you give it purpose to its prison house, which seems to act instead of it. A jailer does not follow orders, but enforces orders on the prisoner. So the jailer is actually what? The dreaming mind. And it enforces orders on the prisoner. And what is the prisoner? Your essence, yourself. And you're so trapped in the belief that you are a body, and there's sins in the body, and that's why the body suffers and gets ill and dies. And yet, what is the body? It's just a projection of the dreaming mind. And what is your true mind? Your mind is that which observes the whole damn thing. Remember this. The body is prisoner and not the mind. The body is a projection of something trapped. The body thinks no thoughts. The body's never had a single thought, a single sensation, or a single feeling. When you think you have instinct, that is a story you've told yourself to be, and that mankind has told itself to get away with behaving in a certain way that would not be accepted to the norm of the current society. We act instinctively. They're based on pure instinct. And then we go one deeper. We go intuitive. The body's intuition. The body has no intuition, none. Awareness is awareness, and intuition. What's tuiting you? What's the tuition? Intuition. Something's teaching you. Intuition always comes from perception. When you're trapped in the wrong mind, when you're in right-mindedness, intuition comes only from inspiration. You intuited by inspiration, or you intuited by delusion, ego. Choose again. The body thinks no thoughts. It has no power to learn, to pardon, or to enslave. We say, well, just instinctive. It was the body memory. Memory? So you've taught the body to flex. The muscles are now flexible. You haven't done it for 20 years, but you practice a couple more days, you're able to flex like you used to when you were 20. What is that? You say the body has memory. The body is an activity of a dreaming mind. And the mind hangs on to the memory of its delusions. The body gives no orders the mind needs serve, nor sets conditions it must obey. So never say to yourself, oh, my body's craving ice cream and chocolate cake. No, it's the idea of yourself, a story that you told yourself, because your unhappiness causes the craving. And you can't be at peace with self, so you need an activity. And craving is just another activity in which you delude yourself through a story that you need something you need not. It holds in prison, but the willing mind, the willing dreaming mind, the willing mind being the ego mind, it would abide in it or think it abides in it. It sickens at the bidding of the mind. The mind sees the world as a delusion, as a horrible place, as a vicious place, as a sick place. If that's how you choose to see the world, trust me, the sickness starts to fester in your body-mind activity, in what appears to be your localization thereof. It sickens at the bidding of the mind that would become its prisoner. And it grows old and appears to die because that mind is sick within itself. So if you're sick, it's because you delude as to what you are. If you've got an illness, it's because somewhere along the line you've made a mistake. Forgive thyself and ask to be shown. Where did I go wrong? Where did I misperceive? Is this to be real? And that something was being done to me. Because when you think the world was treating you in an unfair way, that unfair thought that you harbor as real has to manifest somewhere. And it manifests in your projection, your body mind, your dreaming mind's projection. And you call that you. Learning is all that causes change. Or more importantly, if we were to say it accurately, unlearning brings about the only real change. And so the body, where no learning can occur, could never change unless the mind preferred the body change in its appearance to suit the purpose given by the mind. And so when we become spiritual, we start dressing spiritual. We start dressing vegan. We start acting all roby, and we try and emulate whatever our guru's appearance seems to be, and now we think we're going to behave in a certain way. And then we try and change its appearance. But until we stop believing that this is real. As long as you believe this is real, it does age, because you believe it's an image. I'm age. You believe I am age, and so it ages. You believe the image, and you've been shown throughout since you were a small kid, people get old and they become grannies and grandfathers. And so you're bought into it, it's triggered into you, and you will age accordingly. For mind can learn. It was designed that way. And there is all the change made. Because remember, what is mind that can learn? It's the activity that dissolves, and so it's actually unlearning. And once the activity dissolves, what happens to the mind that dissolves? It just dissolves. What's left behind? That which always is. Always is. What is what is. It's always there. And what is always there? We can try and give it a term: spirit, self, Christ, God. But what is always there is always there. And try not to label it, just accept what is as the essence of what is. Another word for God, what is. The mind that thinks it is a sin has but one purpose: that the body be the source of sin, to keep it in the prison house it chose and guards and holds itself at bay, a sleeping prisoner to the snarling dogs of hate and evil, sickness and attack, of pain and age, of grief and suffering. And this is what we think the purpose of the body is. And so behind every illness is a negative thought about the identity that we harbor, an attack thought about the world and what we think has been done to us, harbored within the idea of a body-mind. And that activity festers and rusts and turns to disease because we haven't forgiven it. And yet forgive it, and it dissolves. And the body, which is permanent, at a permanent state of healing, which means unchangeableness, it's always healthy because it's the extension of spirit. When you know yourself as spirit, even that extension will dissolve too. What happens when all forgiveness is done? You either put the body down and you no longer need to be alive in physical form because you are life itself and you return to spirit. If you're afraid of the appearance of death, well, that in itself is the resistance that makes you suffer. Here are the thoughts of sacrifice preserved. For here guilt rules and orders the world be like itself, filled with guilt, a place where nothing can find mercy, nor survive the ravages of fear, except in murder and death of what appears to be others or ourselves. For here you are made sin, and you believe in it, and sin cannot abide the joyous and the free. For they are the many means which sin must kill. In death is sin preserved. And those, so it's now trapped in that idea, and those who think that they are sin must die for what they think they are, because sin is not true and therefore must die. Let us be glad that you will see what you believe, and that it is, and that it has been given you to change what you believe. Do you believe you're a body, or do you believe you're infinite spirit? If you believe you are spirit, then give the body no more attention than it's due. Look after it. It's a device, and you look after it simply because it is a way that enables you to remember yourself. But don't now become obsessed about it. Don't now go and start preaching how everybody else should behave. Allow his freedom. The body but follows the thoughts. The body but follows thoughts, wrong-mindedness, or awareness. Non-resistant flow, awareness. The body can never lead. It can never lead you where you would not be. It does not guard your sleep, nor interfere with your awakening. It is simply a device. Release your body from imprisonment, from expectation, and you will see no one as prisoner to what you've escaped. Now remember, the script is written. This body is going to enter into the appearance of form, and it's going to seem to die in the appearance of form. Do not be attached. You will not want to hold in guilt your chosen many means, nor keep in chains to the illusion of a changing love, the ones you think are friends. You will not want to hold on to it. Let it go, because if you want to hold in guilt your chosen enemies, you never truly realize your enemies are but your friends, that because they're reflecting what your judgments are back at you. Forgive them, for you know not what you do. Forgive yourself, for you know not what you do. Jesus never said on the cross, forgive them, Father, for they know not what they do. Jesus was aware he was dreaming. He would never have made that statement. It's a misquote. He may have said, forgive me, Father, for having misperceived that they did something. At best, he may have said that. The innocent release in gratitude. And the only way you release in gratitude, return to silence, where gratitude is silence and gratitude is self. Grace of God is gratitude. So the innocent release in gratitude for their release. As you release others from bondage you held them against in judgment of, you release self. And what they see upholds their freedom from imprisonment and death, because you'll realize you are not prison to the body, and death is but an illusion. Open your mind to change, to the allowing God to bring about the memory. So what you think you're changing into, as you're letting go of your body-mind identity, you think you're growing, you think you're learning, you're unlearning. True learning is letting go. You're letting go of all the ideas. And there will be no ancient penalty, ancient in the past. It's always ancient penalties. It's the past repeating itself in 8 billion ways, in your own life every single day, exacted from your brother or yourself. There's no need to bring up the past again once you've released yourself to the freedom of what is. For God has said, there is no sacrifice. And Jesus even said, I need mercy, not sacrifice, forgiveness. So God has said there is no sacrifice that can be asked. There is no sacrifice that can be made. There's nothing to give up. Realize that awakening to self, which is a conceptual story, because when you awaken to self, you realize nothing needed to awake. The self was always there. It's simply the letting go of the idea that you are a separate body mind. That is true. What true realization is, true awakening or true enlightenment or true atonement is a realization. This is a projection of my dreaming mind. I don't reside in here, yet I reside in always. I reside in what appears to be 8 billion bodies. I am appears to reside, yet I am is only dreaming of this residue called life. When I return to I am, there's no more activity. And even the I am, the observer, or the decision maker, as it's often mentioned in the Course, even the I am, this, dissolves into the I that is. What is? What is? Infinite spirit. I-S. What is? Infinite. I stands for infinite. S stands for spirit. What is? What is is. What is infinite spirit. That's all that is. So I know it's a little acronym. I like to play with letters and words. So when I say what is, I mean in my knowing, that which is known by the knower, which doesn't exist. What is means what? Infinite spirit. What is. Infinite spirit is. That's all there is. And even that cannot be explained. If you're being challenged, you're meant to. That means you're doing it properly. Surrender and invite the understanding, the Christ mind, which removes any doubt. And there's no more hope. Hope is a sorry excuse for the illusion of belief, B-L-I-F, belief. Hope leads to belief. Belief reinforces hope. Both are illusions. There's the known and there's the knowing, and they're one. And once the known is the knowing and the knowing is the known, that one dissolves, simply the observation of it all. And even that then lightens, lets go, sinks in, symbolic, into the heart, into what is, where God abides as spirit and you abide in God. Amen. Let's stop there. Let's do some questions.